You are traveling through the Sahel. That's the border region between the Sahara and equatorial regions of Africa on your Honda 250 motorcycle. There are fires in the region, and after you've been through a thinnish sort of forest for a while, you look behind you and a tree similar to a lodgepole pine is ablaze and falls directly across the road that you've been traveling on, and that just where you were seconds ago. Well, you seem to be nearing the end of the fire zone, but continuing through the forest, you are definitely in need of a break. So you stop in a little village at a roadside stand and purchase a refreshing can of pineapple juice. As you half sit on your bike, you notice a troop of little girls approaching you. Eyes wide and bright, they have formed an orderly line with no adults present and come up to you one by one. They politely reach out their hand for a welcoming handshake and a word of hello. You know these little girls are coming to school because each one is in a crisp white blouse and a pleated blue plaid skirt. You know their parents have sacrificed for the tuition, the uniform, the school books, because they believe that education is important and they want their girls to go to school. You finish your juice and get back on the bike to continue your trip out of the interior, knowing that you'll never forget these respectful little girls welcoming a stranger to their village. Fast forward 5 years. Do you wonder how many of them have been ripped away from their families and forced into a heartless, violent, disease-ridden life of sexual exploitation? And if they manage to escape, how on earth are they ever going to make a living? Well, our guests today have an answer to that. Thank you for joining us today on the Social Network Show. I think you're going to get a kick out of this because I sure do. I love the whimsy of an organization that collects donated bras, calling itself freethegirls.org. Now, I mean, normally I'd associate free the girls with taking a bra off. But behind that is a very serious issue. I'm your host, Dr. Jane, along with Jim Nico, founder and CEO of our parent company, Social Network Intermedia. And with us today is our very special guest, Melissa Swearington Watson. Welcome to the show, Melissa.
Thank you, Dr. Jane.
And you are not our only guest. No, unseen to our video viewers of Social Network Station, our second guest is calling in, hence the headsets. She is Kimba Langus. Welcome to the Social Network Show, Kimba.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Melissa and Kimba provide much of the energy behind an organization devoted to helping women who earlier on in their lives were kidnapped by or sold to human sex traffickers. They have been helping the women that have escaped, and once they have escaped, they're something that is nothing other than slavery. But now, guess what? They need to earn a living. And that's where Free the Girls comes in. Melissa, if you could start with the basic problem, could you please update us on the global sex trafficking situation today?
Well, globally, sex trafficking is a problem everywhere, and no place worse than the United States. So it's not to say that trafficking only exists in other countries. And I think the most important thing is to realize it happens in our own backyards. So while we may be working internationally, trafficking is a problem everywhere. And the demand for trafficking anywhere is a demand for trafficking everywhere, because we live in a global society where travel and communication is very easily done on a global level. So you can't escape it. If it is anywhere in the world, it's everywhere in the world.
Thank you so much. And Kimba, will you tell us how this all began?
Well, I would love to take total credit for the idea, but the name and the concept were that of Dave Terpstra, who's our co-founder. And Dave was getting ready to move his family to Mozambique, Africa, to do full-time missionary work. And one of the causes that's close to Dave's heart is human trafficking and sex trafficking. And he felt like, well, what happens to the women after they're rescued? There's really great NGOs working worldwide to rescue these girls and women and boys out of sexual exploitation. But the question was, then what do we do with them? And he wanted to come alongside aftercare facilities and safe houses to provide job opportunities for the women. And one of the things that kind of sparked the Free the Girls concept for him was when he was in Mozambique. He was in the capital city of Maputo one day, and there's people selling stuff all over the streets. Many street stalls and roadside vendors, that sort of thing, selling everything you can imagine. A lot of it is used clothing, and there was a gentleman walking along the street carrying an umbrella, and he had bras hanging along the perimeter of the umbrella, used bras. And Dave thought to himself, there is no way this guy is making a living selling used bras. But once that got on his radar and he started doing some digging and investigating, he found out that bras are actually a luxury item and a status symbol, and they command top dollar in the used clothing market there. So he started putting two and two together, and he thought, well, what if the women who are rescued from sex trafficking can start their own business selling gently used bras? Because he knew that here in the United States, we all kind of have I call it a graveyard in the back of our underwear drawer, where there's bras that never fit us right to begin with, or you gain weight, or you lose weight, or you have children, and then we sometimes don't really know if we can donate those. Can you give them to Goodwill? Are they considered underwear? So they just kind of sit back there, and you don't want to throw them away because you spend a lot of money. So he thought, well, why not take something that American women and European women would happily give away and provide a job opportunity for these brave survivors? And that's how Free the Girls was born.
That is just such a brilliant idea. It's one of those that is definitely, I can see why your organization has grown, because it's one of those remarkable ideas.
Absolutely. And did social networks in particular play an early role or in getting you? You're getting, okay, can you tell us about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. So, Facebook is our angel, our hero. We started off with a website. We were selling T-shirts, that said "Free the Girls" to raise awareness, and we just started spreading the word on Facebook about collecting bras, and it just went viral and took off. And within less than a year, we had 20,000 bras collected, and we were just floored by that. So we knew that we'd struck a chord somehow, and I think it's because the giving of a bra is something tangible. And it's almost something intimate, that can connect a woman here with a woman halfway around the world in a very direct way. This particular bra could provide as much as, a half day's wage for this one woman. So, it caught on, and we had thousands of bras within less than a year. And we really thought it would be small, and we would collect a couple hundred, maybe up to 1,000 bras a year, and we would send them in suitcases, with people going to visit Dave and his family in Mozambique, and it would just be a simple thing like that. But, it kind of took on a life of its own, and soon we realized, wow, we're onto something here, and we need to try to make it bigger and reach more women. And along the way, some people at CNN with their Freedom Project caught wind of what we were doing, and it's been a whirlwind ever since.
Fascinating. That's great. And then there's another side of the networks. How do they play a role in the trafficking side?
Which, as far as the social networks?
Yes. I mean, is there? So there's
unfortunately, they play a role in making it easier. They make it easier for traffickers to communicate with each other. They make it easier for them to advertise their victims, that sort of thing.
Okay, so there's a dark side too.
There's absolutely a dark side, but we're happy that we're turning that network against them.
Yes, exactly.
And we're using that network for good and for hope.
In a way, you're underlying the theme of best practices for the networks, because here they are doing good, and they're getting, and it's getting a viral quality, so they're getting more followers. So it's showing what networks can do for good, as opposed to the darker side that we're aware of. Thank you so much for that. And what would you say is your biggest challenge at this point in time? In the whole overall enterprise, do you see one big challenge?
Well, I think with any NGO and with any startup, funding is always our biggest challenge. You know, we want to do the good work that we're doing and that we need to do, and because of the exposure we've gotten through social media and through the CNN stories that they aired on their website that are still on there, we've had opportunities to expand the program a lot more quickly than we'd planned, which is fabulous because, you know, we grew within less than a year from 3 women in our original pilot program in Mozambique to 21 women there. And now we're launching pilot programs in 3 locations in Uganda and 1 location in El Salvador. And there's another opportunity, hopefully for 2014 in Kenya. That's really fast growth. So we have a lot of bras coming in. A lot of people are donating those. It's a great way to introduce them to the cause. But now we need to build our infrastructure to keep up with that growth so that we can sustain that and keep adding more girls to our program.
Well, let's talk more about that coming up next when we return. And we are talking with Melissa and Kimba from freethegirls.org.